We are back. Live from Goshen, not live, but Saturday morning, a beautiful Saturday morning again. In Goshen, Connecticut. Heading back south. We did just successfully serve the respondent in Goshen. I got to the house, there was no cars in the driveway, there was nobody there. It had a lot of glass windows, and inside it looked dark. But I rang the ring doorbell and knocked on the glass door, and this woman's head popped up from behind the couch and came to the door, explained what it was. And I don't give my name usually. I just say hello, and I ask for her by name, and she verified who she was. I handed her the document, said this is some legal papers from New York. Politely told her that, I'm not sure what it was about, but from New York, she's been served them, and she said, okay. She said, thank you. She said, you're very nice. I've never had somebody say that to me before on a process service, but she did. I mean, I can be nice. So I said, thank you. And that was very easy. And then I notified the client, and he said, hallelujah. He's very happy. I like making my clients happy. Got done. We got it done. And now we are back on the road, and we are heading south out of Goshen, heading back the way we came, basically, toward Litchfield Center again. We're gonna end up and I think back into Harlington, and that's where we're gonna deviate and head on Route 8, head south toward Cheshire, where my next stop is. It's another residence in Cheshire. This one I was hired. The last one I was hired by an individual who I think lives in New York. And it was some kind of a family matter. His ex-girlfriend, his ex-wife, or his wife, I don't know. I think it's his ex-wife, actually. His servant. This one is more of a, I don't know what it's about at all. I don't care. But it is a company that's another process. It's a process serving company out of Florida. Hired me for this one. And it's a pretty big set of documents, which tells me it's probably some kind of a mortgage or banking thing or finance thing. I really don't know. It's generally what these are for these people. So, like I said, I make it a point not to know what it's about. I don't care. I don't want to know. I've got enough on my mind as an investigator without having to do this, So yeah, I think it's better to have the camera turn around this way a lot of the time. So I think this beautiful landscape of Connecticut is better than my borderline ugly face, average to below average face, which used to be above average. I thought I was pretty good looking when I was younger, but we all lose it as we get older, right? You gotta take these things in stride. But there are things to help you stay younger, like this Narcipam toothpaste stuff I've been using has really helped my teeth out a lot. Fluoride is not good, but we'll get into that another time. We just crossed into Litchfield, back into Litchfield now. One of the most beautiful areas of Connecticut. I think maybe I'll take a few minutes here to talk about federal judges, about the judiciary. I know what I'm talking. I'm not a lawyer, not on paper, but I am a lawyer. See, I don't have a license for any of these things. I don't practice any of these things. So I don't collect money for any of these things either. So don't get this the wrong way, but I kind of am a doctor and a lawyer and a pharmacist and a lot of different things. I know a lot about it. I know a little bit about a lot of things, and the legal system is what I know a lot about. I have taken courses in the legal system in community college, and one of them, Professor Garvey, he's got to be gone by now. He's an old guy back then. 1990, when I went back to college, to MCC. I took a couple of business law classes, and the first class I took, he told me at the end, he said, I'd give you an A+ if they had one on the computer, but because you didn't get a question wrong the entire time. Now, granted, it was all multiple choice, so he never had me do essays or anything like that, because you can't be perfect on an essay, really. I mean, you can, but you can't be literally perfect on an essay. It's too subjective. But I was able to get every multiple choice question right. There was like 500 of them for the semester, 600 of them. I got every one right. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the law. And I got to tell you right now, and economics as well, by the way, I was the Economic Student of the Year at MCC in 1992. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to economics. And when I say Donald Trump's economic policies are spot on, I mean it. Even if you don't like Donald Trump personally, he's the right guy for the job when it comes to the economy. And a lot of other things for that matter. But unfortunately, in America right now, we're living under a system of judicial fiat. We are not. People say Trump is acting like a dictator. No, in my opinion, he's a good president, but he's not utilizing all his presidential powers. He's acquiescing to the rule of federal district judges, local federal district judges, and just playing them out in the Supreme Court, which is the way to do it. I'm not saying he should be defying judges' rules or anything like that. He's playing it out the right way. I'm not criticizing President Trump here, but the fact that he's being put in this position disturbs me like crazy. We've been through this all year since Trump has been inaugurated, with federal district judges striking down things that are clearly Trump's power to do as the president. And Trump's kind of like playing it out in court, but they're not supposed to be doing it. And the thing that bothers me the most is, and it's not being talked about on Fox, it's not being talked about really anywhere, is that in June, if I recall, I think it was June, it might have been July, but in June or July of the summer, going back into beautiful Litchfield, by the way, the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, which has a 63 margin in favor of America-loving judges versus 3 Marxists in the Supreme Court. Thank God it's 6-3. We can never let that number tip the other way, because the Supreme Court does and has all too much, what was never intended, authority to judge everything that happens. That was early on in our history, the 1790s or early 1800s. A guy named John Jay, basically seized that power. And ever since then, we've been kind of going along with the final arbiter, the Supreme Court. Well, that's not how it's supposed to be. How's the final arbiter unelected in a democracy? But at any rate, we're lucky the Supreme Court has a 6-3 margin right now, and we're able to win a lot of these cases on appeal with district court judges, which is why I think Trump is wise to, even though my inner core says tell these judges to go enforce their own rules. Some of these crazy rulings that are not based on any precedent or any judicial principles or any kind of legal precedent is supposed to be. It's based on ideology, left-wing ideology, and that's not what judges are appointed for. They're actually breaking their oath of office. We have judges right here in our Connecticut State Supreme Court. One in particular has said in private, from what I've heard, that he doesn't consider the Constitution anymore in his rulings. It's only his little left-wing ideology, which is one of the reasons why Connecticut is in such a conundrum. This guy's evil and should be impeached and removed. But unfortunately, the Connecticut Bar Association and the American Bar Association are also corrupted organizations right now, from what I understand. It sucks. It really does. So, in June, the Supreme Court, luckily, our 6-3 judges said, no, local district court, federal judges certainly don't have, look at that sun, huh? They certainly don't have the power to override the rule of the, Congress or the president. They don't have that power. You can't just go to a shop and pick some local judge that has your ideology to come up and basically use the legal system again as a weapon to put forth Marxist ideology. And that's what we have. We have a major problem with that in this country. But what gets me the most is the Supreme Court kind of put that to bed in June and July, rightfully so. But since then, we've had several district court judges defy that Supreme Court order and just go on issuing injunctions. One of them in particular recently ordered Trump to not send troops into Chicago to stop riots. So they control the troops now, too, the judges. That's not how America was founded. And it kind of makes me cringe to see Trump just kind of going along with it. Again, I understand why he's doing it, because he knows it's going to be a victory for him in the end. But what would he do if the Supreme Court was not on his side? What if the Supreme Court were to strike it down? Then what? Guess the court said we got to let Chicago burn. Guess we're going to do that. What if the court ordered you to, throw yourself off the fucking Niagara Falls River and let J.D. Vance take over? Would you do that? Really? I mean, these judges are rogue. They're not That's the problem I have. These federal district court, Biden-appointed and Obama-appointed judges, and some that fooled Trump into appointing them too, in between, or George W. Bush into appointing them in their presidencies have turned, or were just imposters all along. That's one of the other major problems we have in this country is the left wing is willing to infiltrate and become Republican as literally a spy on the other side, a saboteur. You have them all around. I could name some right now if I really wanted to. I'm going to be hesitant to do that because I don't want to. We're going to out these people, and I don't want to like compromise it. It's almost like the blacklists in real life in a way. It's too bad that people are like this. It's sad. That's why, as a candidate for Congress, I have to navigate first through the GOP roadblocks, and at the same time, make sure that we have the upper hand on Larson, which makes it twice as hard to run a campaign, but it doesn't make it impossible. We're going to be too big to rig. Oh, you're also going to worry about election rigging, too. If you're one of the towns, one of the 25 towns, part of 27 was part of Glastonbury, part of Middletown in my district, or really all the districts in Connecticut, I want towns to know you don't have to use the new voter machines that are coming in. Those things are rigged. I guarantee you they are. You don't have to use them. You can use hand count regular paper ballots as you used to do in the past. I suggest you do that. You may be pressured to use the new machines. You need to resist and not use them. Hopefully we'll get enough towns to do that. Those machines scare me. I always feel like they're programmed to make sure that Republicans don't win. If that happens, if they're able to implement all their election scheming rules, we found out from a guy named Joe Neffs, who's a guy helping to work on election fraud, a great guy this summer. There are over 18 different ways to protect election integrity. Connecticut only employs 3 of those 18, and they purposely don't do the other 15 to open the door for fraud on purpose. That's what we're facing. We do have people that we know and love that are working on that. Let's hope it stays there. But federal district court judges have to be called to the carpet. We can't continue to rule under just fiat. I don't know what can be done there. Congress has the power to close courtrooms. They have the power to lay off judges, really, in essence, and create new courtrooms. They have ways they can do this to stop this. Maybe we need to focus national attention on the American Bar Association, and in Connecticut, on the Connecticut Bar Association, how corrupt these places are. They're private organizations. It's hard to shut them down. But what you can do is create rival organizations that are honest and uphold the law. Okay, we're at Route 8. We're back at Route 8 in Harwinton. As we're going to deviate from our trip out, we're going to get on Route 8 South and head on the highway down toward Waterbury. We're going to drive right through Waterbury onto 84 back toward Hartford. And we're going to get off in Cheshire. Once we get through Waterbury, I'm going to say goodbye for today and go back to my normal life. But this is my normal life now. It's part of my normal life now. Yeah, I'm not used to the spotlight. I'm not an attention seeker. Except now I have to be to help Connecticut and help America. So I don't mind it. When I say I don't want to want to run, it doesn't mean I'm not. I do want to. I want to help Connecticut, but like personally, when I say that, as a person, I'd just rather hang out by Harvey's Lake than hang out, relax, work, but relax in between, not have all this complication. But these Marxist thugs that are threatening to run our country have forced me into action. That's here we are. That's where we are. I don't know what can be done. I think Congress needs it. I worry about, look, the elections this coming, obviously, we have elections coming up this Tuesday. I think we're going to talk more about those on Monday and Tuesday, I think. But next year we have midterm elections that are vitally important. The survival of this country is at stake. It is. If for some reason we let Marxist Democrats get any part of the government back, Congress, the House, if they get the House back, essentially, they will impeach Trump and they will hold up anything he wants to do. What we need are more Republicans, MAGA enthusiasts. Again, MAGA is not Nazi. It just means make America great. Doesn't mean anti-Jews. If anybody who's paying attention to the news, left or right, you have common sense. you know it's the left wing that is coming down on the Jews, screwing with the Jews, not the right. So that's a little bit of a flaw in the whole Trump is Hitler argument, isn't it? People need to use common sense. Fortunately, most of us do. But we have a very messed up situation where we have 80% of the people that are on the right track, but we have a media, what I call a dinosaur fake media. Calling it mainstream is giving it too much credit. It's no longer mainstream. It's few listeners than ever, watchers than ever. But what it is fake news, like Trump says. Well, fake news doesn't cover the interest of the 80%. It's trying to stir up the 20%. That's a really messed up situation. And they're hiding, they're being allowed to continue to do it under the auspices of freedom of speech, which is a false auspice. Every individual in the media that's on the left talking lies has the right to say all the lies they want. They don't have the license or right to do it on the air. Okay, otherwise I want my own news network. Hand it to me right now. I have a right to it. Jimmy Kimmel claiming he has the right. Jimmy Kimmel has the right to say whatever he wants. He can go on social media, say whatever he wants. He can show up at events and say whatever he wants. He can get people to show up and listen. As long as people, he doesn't have the right to make us listen. He doesn't have the right to a license with ABC to be on Late Night Talk. And have the listeners of the airwaves of, well, it was millions. Now it's down to hundreds of thousands of people because nobody wants to listen to him anymore. But he gets all this publicity even on Fox News. He gets all this publicity on all these news stations. A guy that only gets 200,000 or 300,000 viewers, which is not even enough to cover Hartford County for the whole nation. And yet he's all over the place. Why? Because he's on one of the original 3 networks, ABC, maybe. That's probably part of it. I don't know what's going on, but I think there needs to be new ownership in these networks. I think that's something I heard a lot about when Trump was first elected, but I don't hear anything about it now. Elon was going to buy Comcast. Did any of that happen? We need to have people that are vested interest in the United States come in and do takeovers of some of these media outlets so we can start getting real news back on the air. On these, we do have, even Fox News is, Rupert Murdoch, I'm not sure if he's still alive, but once he goes, his kids are liberals, and they're already on Fox News showing way too much footage of Janice Crockett, whatever her name is, Tisha James, all these morons. They're always on there quoting them. They're always on there on video on Fox all the time. They spend a couple minutes doing the right thing, making fun of it, saying it's wrong, and then they play it again. It used to be more focused on the solution, more focused on what Trump's doing, and less. I know they do. Fox does a fairly good job, but I can see these subtle left-wing leaning nuances. They're being careful not to totally desert the right because they don't lose their listeners, but at the same time, they don't lose their credibility. But they're doing these little nuances again, showing this guy Pritzker, these boob, Karen Bass, all these people. They're on there all the time. Good Fox News programming should be 80% of the time focused on the solution, on the things that are done to make America great again. And then you take a little time to, show a quick clips of what these people are saying and put them down. But because that is, quite frankly, the honest way to do it. Objectivity. Being objective doesn't mean you have to see Marxism. Being objective doesn't mean you have to accept both sides. It just means you have to be aware of them. And you have to report based on the facts. Which, if the fact is Marxism is evil. So you can go on the news and say that. The fact is Marxism is bad. The fact is every time it's ever been done, people suffered and died, starved, and been oppressed. And in the places where it's being done here in America right now, like Chicago, like Los Angeles, like Seattle and Portland. Life sucks in those cities. How can we let America fall for this? They advocate violence to try to take it over. And we have politicians that are elected that are doing that. And they're violating the law in doing so. They're very on the, like I said, very much on the border in terms of what's legal and what's not in terms of free speech. They're crossing the line, in my opinion. They're doing it just a little bit. So it's hard to say. If they get arrested, you go arrest these people, they're going to say, look, I arrested me for my free speech. Which will, to the more uneducated among us, population, a lot of us, they're going to say, oh yeah, they're going to agree with that. And it's going to hurt politics. It's going to hurt the image of Trump. There'll be some MAGA people that are on the fringe even that'll say, oh, this is too much now. They're right. It might convince some of our more centrist leading MAGA people that Trump is breaking the law or whatever, when he's not. Because you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Get in trouble for that. And that's what they're doing. They yell fire in a crowded theater. And I think it could be established in a fair court that it's legal to arrest some of these people. Tisha James should be arrested. She's honest about it, I'll give her that. Unless she's gonna get drunk or whatever. But some of these people, the ones that are doing the worst, Larson, you don't see him on TV that often doing it, but you have seen him on TV doing it. He does it too. At any rate, I'm gonna let you go here shortly. We're almost in. We're gonna go through Waterbury here. Check out Sin City, USA. That's the old radio DJ on WCCC. Sebastian. Joseph Schlosser. I think he's still around. I don't know if he's still. I think maybe he passed on. I don't know. He was in his 30s and the 80s, so he'd be in his 70s now. Maybe he's still around. He was a shock jock in Connecticut back in the day. He was cool. Well, he said a lot of crash stuff. But it was freedom of speech, man. And I used to call Waterbury Sin City, USA. And I think it was because of the cross on the hill. They call it that. There's a little bit of a oxymoron type of thing. Sin City, USA, you'd call it. So that's what I call it. But it's also the 5th District where John DeBarros is running for Congress. And I urge everybody in the 5th District, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you love this country and you want to see it brought back to the people, give John DeBarros your vote. The 5th. He is already way ahead of me. He's already filed. He's already got a big thing going online. He's going hard against the GOP. GOP is firing back hard. They're going to try to sabotage him. There's a lot of people in our movement that think that John's going to get crushed by the GOP ultimately because of the delegate process and some of the unfairness in the process. That doesn't give people the true say in who's the nominee. And that's the same obstacle I'm going to face. How am I going to navigate that? John is navigating it very aggressively. It may or may not come back to haunt him. I don't know. I trust his instincts. My approach is going to be closer to what his is than what the other candidates are doing, which is basically kissing the GOP ring, hoping that won't get in their way, which I think is the wrong way to go. I'm going to do this somewhere in between, I think. I'm not going to really wail on them, but I'm not going to kiss their ring, that's for sure. I'm just going to go to the people, you the people, we the people I grew up with. I wish Vernon was part of the 1st District. That's where I grew up. It's not. I'm going to help out in the 2nd, if I can, a little bit. Maybe work together. A guy I know, I just learned his name yesterday, so it escapes me, but I will talk about this person soon. Is running in the 2nd against Courtney. It's going to be a tough one. Courtney's he's another thug. His voting record sucks just like Larson's. Voting for things like men and women's sports, and, all this crap. He's just as bad. But Courtney's wise enough not to go on TV and become unhinged like Larson does. He kind of lays in the wings. He's got a lot of support from the Groton subbase and Muslims. Our Muslim population in Connecticut, which is pretty heavy down in the Groton area, which is a weird coincidence since that's where our freaking naval subbase is. Look, I'm not anti-Arab or anti-anything. I love people, all people. Even Islamic people that want to practice their religion freely and not bother other people. If you're one of those idiots that takes it for granted, takes it literally, it was language of the Quran that you have to crush all the other religions, and you're part of that movement, anti-Semitism, whatever, then you're a terrorist as far as I'm concerned. You need to be removed from the country if you're an illegal alien for sure. And if you're not, then you better not try any shit or we're going to be all over you, because I'm not in favor of that. It's not cool. Anti-Semitism is not cool. And unfortunately, a lot of Arabs are like that. They're not all about peace and freedom. I think the majority of them are. But it's weird that there's so many Arabs that live down in the Groton subbase area. It's where our military is. So these things bother me. The idea of Sharia law and the interpretations of the Quran that call for the extermination of Western civilization, scary shit. And that stuff needs to be put down, whether it's by hook or by crook, man. So I'm not an advocate of violence. These people advocate violence. We don't want that. We want to do it in the polls. But we have to do it in the polls, and we have to show up and volunteer if we can, because we do everything we can to do this peaceably through the democratic process. Because if we don't, and they take full control somehow, we're going to have to do it with our own violence. We'll have to. We'll have no choice. We don't want to go that way. We hate violence. Anyway, there's passages in the Bible that call for, there's all kinds of crazy passages in the Bible that call for blasphemous to be executed, people that don't follow Christianity to be exterminated or whatever. There's all kinds of wild verses in there. Ask any minister. All right, we don't take those literally. Only the very few nutty cases among us do that. Not ones on TV. And when they do, we treat them like criminals, like everybody else. They should be prosecuted. We don't try to stir them up on television like these morons do. I'm gonna turn my camera over to the city of Waterbury here. When I get back, this is the city of Waterbury, Connecticut. John DeBarros' hometown, I believe. John DeBarros' main town to win in Congress, and we really want to see John do well here. Waterbury is known as the Sin City. I call it the Sin City, and it's not just because of the cross on the hill. It's also because it is one of the most, unfortunately, corrupted cities in Connecticut in terms of, it's run by the mob, man. It's run by bad people. Unfortunately, there's the cross over there, if you can see in the distance. I'm not going to zoom in now, but it's over there. There it is. There it is, on the hill. Praise Jesus! Sin City, USA. It's rather sarcastic, I suppose. Yeah, it's run by a lot of bad people. Waterbury's, luckily John's got a good rapport with both the rich and the poor in this area. And I think he can win as long as people don't get in his way in our own party. They've run someone named Michelle something, a Republican hack, GOP hack, against him for primary. Now, if you're the chairman, if you're Ben Proto, you're the chairman of the Republican Party, you want Republicans to do well. You see John DeBarros raising a ton of money, doing great things, getting people fired up on his behalf, both in terms of the rich and the poor, the inner cities and the businesses, and he's getting universal support, you guys. He is, as we leave Waterbury. He's getting universal support. You would think the chair would be like, yeah, go, John, and behind him, but no, he's trying to stand in the way. He doesn't want the Republicans to win. Why would you nominate or pump up someone named Michelle, I don't remember her last name, to run against him in primary against him? What the hell would you do that for? I think if you unite behind him, a sure victory in the 5th district. So his putting up someone against him is, to me, prima facie evidence that Proto is disingenuous. With that, I'm going to say goodbye. We are gone through Waterbury now. We're into the eastern part of Waterbury. It's been a nice journey with you around Connecticut. We're going to take more journeys around Connecticut as we go through this year, as we grow, and we're going to do this campaign together. We're going to win together. Okay, God bless Connecticut. God bless America. We'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.